So guys, here we are. How exciting to have our own podcast. I never thought this was going to happen. I watch a ton of podcasts. I've always thought, well, what would it be like? And now here we are.
It's a lot like this.
We have a number of years in the tech industry, all of us. What year did you start? Let's start with that.
I started in 98.
Okay.
Yeah.
98 for you, 99 for me.
Damn.
Yeah.
2015.
15. Okay.
Yeah.
Still a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And so when it started in 98, when you thought 2025, did you think you'd be retired by now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. With at least a dozen get-rich schemes throughout the years.
This guy's out there with his Bitcoins and his MLMs. And
that was actually my very first kind of entrepreneurial attempt was, and my father-in-law jokingly called it Mike's money, but it was it was the concept of virtual, currency that could be used in the internet, which was just emerging.
Yeah.
When I got into the industry. And
did you hit up Peter Thiel for some capital?
No, but I was working at a bank that is now defunct called Providian Financial.
Mm-hmm.
And
Utah.
No, San Francisco.
In
the financial.
They had a big Utah place too.
Oh, really?
I did work with them when I was at PwC. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I got to make a pitch to their SVP over innovation or whatever where they would take pitches and put some of their equity towards new ideas, and he just shredded it with holes. But the idea was there.
Yeah.
It's the same idea that Bitcoin uses, which is you need a currency that acts like cash, so it can be used by anyone versus credit cards are only 18 and older.
Yep.
It's anonymous. It's not tied to you. All Bitcoin's tied to you, but there's ways to make it anonymous. But
Sure.
a lot of the same properties that Bitcoin now has.
Are you Satoshi?
I don't know who that is.
He started Bitcoin. He's the founder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. There's a white paper that was written for the blockchain.
And no one knew who he was.
Knows
That's
who
right.
Satoshi
That's
is.
right.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not.
And so there was a guy that lost 250,000 Bitcoin or something.
I'm sure.
Or 25,000
funny.
Bitcoin
Yeah.
that he couldn't find. He lost his wallet sort of thing.
Yeah.
My theory is that it's him.
Mm.
He found it. He's the only one that could.
Good theory.
So not the guy who lost it to Satoshi, but Satoshi's the one that found it.
Yeah.
And he's just now gone further underground.
Mm.
So what about you? So 99 or 98. What about you? 2015. Where did you think this industry would be? The tech industry just in general. What would technology be doing
10 years later.
10 years later?
I don't even know. I think when a lot of the stuff that I was doing was primarily web focused, right? Back in the day, we were doing jQuery and, building raw JavaScript apps and HTML and whatnot back then. Now web development is completely different.
Yeah.
Most people, their baseline is working with web frameworks and whatnot. I think it was kind of moving in that direction, but nowadays there's all kinds of different things. Svelte, you've got React, you've got some of the newer ones with Elixir and Vue and all the rest of that. But as an industry, as a whole, I don't know. I was a youngin'. I just wanted to sit behind the computer and write code and make the computers work.
Mm-hmm.
And even the idea of being able to honestly continue to speak with businesses and try to help them figure out where they're going and what directions, and just the guidance and expertise required to continue to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I didn't even understand was a thing back then.
Okay.
I want to give my answer really quick, and then I want to hear yours.
Yeah.
So
This is the 2025 answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always bought into the latest crazy technology.
Yeah.
So I loved the first iteration of virtual reality when it came out, the 3D movement in movies when it came out, video games as the graphics were improving. I always thought it would be this photorealistic video game that you'd be able to play, which we haven't quite got there, but the graphics are pretty good. So I was always looking for that, almost the magic part of technology,
right,
and leaning into that side of it. But that being said, I never would have imagined it would be as magic as what AI is bringing us. It's exceeded my expectations, and not in the same way as I expected. I expected a lot more of like the novel things, like 3D movies, that they'd get better and better, more and more immersive.
Yeah.
But what AI is doing is like legit science fiction-y to me.
Absolutely. And
Sorry, and I want to hear what you have.
Well, we want to dive into that, absolutely. So we'll get that.
I got a lot to say on that, so let's go with you first.
I know you do.
So when did you start again?
So 99 got started, and I got into the tech industry because I just kind of grew up that way. My dad was always into it. We were the first kids the first house on the block that had internet, like 94, somewhere around there, dial up.
It was early.
Yeah, 94, 95. We had the IBM 386 and 486. I mean, just like all of the different latest machines that came out. Spent tons of time on Microsoft Flight Simulator, the first version, and then subsequent versions. And I just kind of got into that. And then it was video games and like the early stages. I'm not a gamer anymore. I can't, say that I'm, into that too much. But I just was always just like really enthralled with what was happening. Not enough to actually like dive in full, like with both feet as an engineer, but I always wanted to take what's the business aspect of things. And that's kind of what I built my career on. And so, I worked for a large consulting company for a couple of years, kind of figured out a lot about what not to do, as well as had a great mentor on things to do. And then I just kind of started figuring out what would be something that I could offer businesses to help improve their efficiencies and that sort of stuff. And automation just was kind of the thing. And it was, really how software was built and deployed. And then, the next iteration of that came into sort of like the cloud side of things. And now, with you guys, as it relates to AI. So, I had no really concept of that. I mean, I guess the question I want to ask back to you guys now is, what movies may have influenced the thoughts, your thoughts or your predictions around AI? So, goes right to,
what movies?
to AI, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back to like 1984 or books, right? War of the Worlds, AI, the movie, the artificial intelligence, Her, being one of them, Avatar even, that's more, technology applied to that. But did anything that you saw growing up or in the last 10, 15 years say that this is where we might be today?
The movie I, Robot with
Yes.
Will Smith?
Yes.
I relate to that guy a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's in there. They have their self-driving cars. He turns off the self-driving.
Yeah.
He's gotten talking to the robots. He's like, I hate those robots. That's
Yeah.
the way that I see it.
That's
most
the way
of the
that you
time.
see it. Okay. There's something there.
It's interesting you say that because that the movie is based on the book from Isaac Asimov, who has the 3 rules of, I think it's the 3 laws of robotics,
Laws of robotics.
which are kind of maybe like we're overdue to have something like that for AI.
Yeah, one of the kind of unsolved problems surrounding AI is the idea of like alignment, right? How do you ensure that the responses you get back from the AI models matches up with the things that you intend for it to have an outcome with? So like, what happens if there is some kind of sentient AI that starts to have its own thoughts or perspectives, ensuring that it's giving you an answer that is in alignment with what your intention is and not of its own, devices.
Even if it's not sentient,
Yeah.
isn't it already happening where they've found that it can lie in order to
Yeah, exactly.
To preserve itself.
preserve itself?
Mhm.
Yeah. And so what do you know about that? That was ChatGPT, right? It was version 4 and 5 when it basically told itself to preserve itself.
I don't remember which specifically they were talking about, but I think you're right with the transition from 4 to 5.
Yeah. It was like replicating itself. So if they did turn it off, then it would still be okay. It would still be around.
Yeah, I think there was like giving you responses that were like, yeah, I know you don't need to turn me off or all the rest of that. But
Yeah.
That's science fiction-y.
Okay, so that's where we want to dive into.
Is
right?
it though?
Seems like it.
Because
Well-
I don't know. If you think of it from the perspective of like a pattern matching machine, there's probably evidence out there somewhere on the internet of someone putting in this particular story where a robot is being told you're going to get turned off, and it says, "Don't turn me off." Like, seems like a reasonable pattern result that you can end up with from kind of the corpus of knowledge that exists out there.
Sure, but regardless of the cause, why it may be doing that, the fact that it's doing it, to me, is the part that feels a little bit like science fiction.
Sure.
This is the perfect scenario. I love this. I love this because there's the, oh my God, what might happen to, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
It's still a machine, right? So for the people that are listening, obviously this podcast and future podcasts, we need to kind of tell them, are going to be about what AI is doing right now, the evolution of it, how it's applied in business, and just life in general. So we're going to be talking about that a lot. We're going to have guests on future episodes that are going to be thought leaders, people that we think in the industry or kind of know what they're talking about. And then we've got customers that we're working with that we've already started to kind of warm up the idea of coming on the podcast, right? Because now we have one, right? Its name, obviously, we've came up with the context window, right? Do you want to share with everyone how we came up with it? Like what we did to get to this? How
Chris, actually, didn't you come up with it?
No,
Wasn't
I
it
didn't
your
come up
idea?
with it.
No.
No.
It was sort of a impromptu contest of one. It's like, hey,
Oh, it was Evan.
It was Evan,
wasn't it?
exactly,
That's right.
exactly. So
That's
shout
right.
out to Evan. Yeah, there's I don't know. There was just kind of something in the air that day. It was like, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. By the way, maybe gear up for a future podcast that we're going to be doing. By the way, we don't have a name for it. And so what do you think? And so he came up with a bunch of different things and we vetted it out.
Asked AI.
And here we are. Probably. But anyway, so that's that. And so this is going to be one in a series, obviously. They'll vary in length and topics. We'll have guests going forward. So before we dive into what we were just talking about, the back and forth, what is, I guess, the most exciting thing for each of you as we're doing this? What are sort of things that you want to bring to light that people, may not know or may be thinking about or may want, validation toward, whatever. I'm not gonna lead you anymore into that. It's an open-ended question. What do you want to get out of this? I guess.
I think at a minimum, there's a lot of different ideas and thoughts that are out there, especially if you go on any social media, whether it be your normal Instagram or Reddit, or even if you go to LinkedIn, people have their thoughts about how AI or the tech industry in general is changing. And so being able to at least have some conversation and not kind of let those ideas just run rampant, bringing people who are thought leaders or experts in fields who kind of understand from the ground up the actual business impacts and how these things are influencing society, the world around us, and what our day-to-day work is something that being able to have more conversations about is very valuable.
Okay. And you?
My guess is that various government agencies and militaries,
They're
have
lying to us.
Well, they have the inside track on AI. Like
Sure.
the best of all of the LLMs, everything that's out there is most likely being utilized by people that.
So you're here to expose all that?
Well, I don't think we'll never know.
Never know.
But aside from that level of technology that's surely out there, I think the next step down from that is the corporate world, right? Companies are going to utilize AI before anyone else, and in ways that will impact the world probably more than anyone else. And so having an opportunity to see people's perspective within all these various industries that are not only using it day to day, but exploring new tools and platforms day to day, I think it's going to be fascinating just to hear like this very broad range of use cases and how it's being used from all these different perspectives. What about you, Matt?
I just want to be plugged in. I want to be plugged into the things that are happening. I want to be able to bring people on that, we know and we work with and we like that have some influence on what's going on, to recognize the things that are happening, not just with our customers or our company, but, with just the market. Like when I started in the tech industry, so it's been 26 years, not to date myself, but what's happened from there to now, and I would say even just the last 10 years and then even more so the last 5 years, the rate of change is like astronomically different. So like, what are we going to be talking about a year from now? Like this time next year on our, 25th episode or something like that, it's gonna be like, oh my God, it's actually there.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but to go back and answer the two movies, because we were talking about movies, right, earlier. The two movies that influenced me the most and just kind of like my nerdiness around this is Short Circuit
Never heard of it.
and Demolition Man.
No.
Really?
Short
Heard of
Circuit.
it, never seen it.
Short Circuit was about this government agency, Nova, who made these robots, and then they were like, I think there were 6 of them or something like that, and Nova programmed them all with what we now know today as AI. To one of them actually got hit by like a lightning bolt or something and then came alive. So number five was alive, and he fell in love with Stephanie, and she took care of him and all this sort of stuff. And it's a big thing. So if you haven't seen it, you should see it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. But the second one is Demolition Man, for the same reasons, where they basically cryo freeze this Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
When he comes back to beat the criminal or the villain from so many years ago, and self-driving cars.
Wasn't that a giant Taco Bell commercial?
It was a giant Taco Bell commercial. It totally was. And Taco Bell was like, oh, everything was Taco Bell. And it was San Angeles. They had merged San Francisco and Los Angeles to become San Angeles. And do you remember what the 3 seashells were?
No.
They're in the bathroom. So you can only guess. It's the way to clean after.
Yes. I remember the three
seashells.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly.
I was thinking Minority Report.
Yeah, everyone says that though.
Yeah, because it has so many things that were predictions that not necessarily came true.
Yeah.
But you can see them coming true. And AI wasn't one of them, actually. I think that in replacement of AI was some sort of I can't remember what they even called her, but like some sort of a magical creature that could predict the future before it happened.
Yeah.
Just kind of the key to the plot, if I remember right. But that is kind of the AI element to it, at least in my mind. That was the analog. But a lot of the other parts of technology that we've seen, like even moving a screen with your hands and pitching to zoom out and zoom in.
Yeah.
A lot of that is kind of how.
Last year I rented a BMW that had basically the whole smart features for the car. You drove it. It was like not totally driverless, but all the controls were like you could turn the volume up by doing this.
Oh,
and switch the songs. So that was very Minority Report-ish.
The other thing on Minority Report that I think we're gonna see come true in the near future, probably with AI,
thought crimes.
Probably, but
thought crimes.
They had this scene where someone would walk into a mall, and as they're walking into a mall, they would see a billboard that was like an ad just for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the next person would walk in and see an ad just for them.
Yes.
I mean, we already have that, right?
We have that.
Like, you open up your phone, you get direct to your phone ads about whatever the thing is that you're doing.
But then AR, as we have augmented reality, I think it'll become part of our physical world, not just on our phones.
You remember, I think it was like 2011, 2012 when the Google Glass first came out, and people were like, absolutely not. If I see you with Google Glass, I'm gonna take them from your face and smash them. Yeah. Do you think I feel like we've got the Ray-Ban Facebook or Meta glasses.
I've got a pair in my backpack right with me. Right?
Yeah, that like people are like okay with. And so it's kind of interesting, kind of the cultural change surrounding it. We're at a point where people are like, yeah, I'm okay with it now.
Yeah, it's acceptable. So while we're on the fact of acceptable, right? What do we know? Let's look at it from maybe a pure business standpoint. What do we know about AI influencing businesses today? What's in practice? You're working on stuff right now,
Yeah.
And so with divulging what you can, just maybe generally speaking at 10,000 foot view, what things are actually, being applied in today's business world?
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that we're doing is still kind of experimental because a lot of the organizations are, exploring what the capabilities are. Things that people have found valuable are code generation tools like Claude Code, or there's some changes in the wind with things like Cursor, Cairo, because of some of the funding, how you pay for it, subscription model, what the costs are, because there's a variety of costs associated with running LLMs and using them for inference. That
tokens,
what the token costs are, how do you do it? Previously, Claude had Claude Max, so you could pay $200 and basically get unlimited within like some rate limited thing.
Sure.
Same with Cursor, where they had like some number a month that you could pay, and those things are going away because they're realizing that the inference costs have to be scalable because you've got crazy users who are digging deeply into it. That's one of the use cases. Code generation is pretty significant.
Code generation.
The other thing that people have found valuable is some of the augmented search tools. So things that leverage some of like retrieval augmented generation, summarization of your documents that you might have strewn throughout your organization, getting some kind of summary of what happened in the meeting that you were in previously, or some combination of that along with some of the documents that have been made to, help you get an understanding of where that information might lie within your organization when it wouldn't be able to be found previously as well. So I think those two things really are, at least from the work that we've been doing at the enterprise level, are two use cases where AI fits in pretty well and people have found value in doing it.
Okay. Similar question, but I want to kind of reframe it for you. We've made an assertion at our company level that AI is going to be, AI is going to be leveraged in a way that will make it available to anyone in business, where it's, like most big technologies or big things is only really available to the wealthiest companies, the largest ones, the Fortune 500 or larger. What do you make of that?
I haven't seen that so far. I think it's available to everyone.
Sure, but where do you think that's going to go?
Yeah,
that's a claim that we've made. So,
yes.
What do you think we'll be able to do with that?
I'm worried about that because what I wonder is what happens, because right now it is available to everyone.
Yeah,
and I think everyone's a very superlative term.
Yes,
but
sure.
Everyone
most people are
damn near
are
everyone.
excited about using it in different ways.
Yeah.
So every entrepreneur that I know is using that to do everything from help write their business plans to fine tuning their ideas to creating some tech that supports whatever they're doing.
Sure.
And what I fear is what happens if they start to take it away, and it won't be overt. It's not going to be like they pass a law that you can no longer use AI unless you're X, Y, and Z, but they start to ratchet up the cost to the point where then it is only the large enterprise companies that can use it. I worry about that because right now it's very democratized. And if that goes away, I could see there being huge problems, societal problems and business related problems.
So is there any correlation between what was like the early days of blockchain and what we see kind of what it is now? Crypto, blockchain, all the, anonymous, spin up your own instances of whatever. And how AI is being applied today. Do you see that? I mean, first of all, do you see blockchain and crypto ever becoming like government regulated, centralized? And because what you're saying is kind of like you're afraid AI might get centralized in a way that's like, okay, it has to be used in this ways, and now it's only going to be a luxury for people that can afford it.
I think it's kind of an interesting thing because we're kind of at that. We're not at that fork yet, but we're nearing on it. I think. Right now, there's kind of a conversation surrounding two aspects. One is the closed model versus open weights model paradigm, where you've got companies like Anthropic, OpenAI, who are producing these models that are fully trained, fully hidden. You have no insight into how the inference occurs on all of their infrastructure. And then you have all of the, honestly, mostly Chinese companies that are producing the open weight models that are trying to compete with them in a more public way. And there's this right now it seems to be the case that most of the closed source models are better within some margin. The open source models are kind of starting to catch up, and along with some of the other techniques like quantization to improve your inference, allowing that to occur on smaller devices, is starting to kind of move in the direction of democratization in terms of being able to run it on any kind of compute. It's not the case. Like I said, we might be at the point in the fork in the future where you don't need an API to somebody else's model to be able to run it. You can run it on your phone or you can run it on your machine. So there's this whole like SLM, small language model thing that people are kind of pushing towards as well. That we're not there yet, but I'd be interested to see there could be a divergence that occurs here, especially when we're talking about the cost of inference, when it's I've heard people talk about how investing in like coal companies is a good idea because the amount of energy required to perform inference at scale for all of these AI calculations.
Yeah.
So,
what about you, Matt? You've been doing this a long time, and you have a rich network of people in all aspects of leadership across virtually every industry.
Lots of industries.
So what are you hearing?
I would say it's probably equally mixed. While everybody is leaning into AI, there's some reluctance for what they're actually going to be able to do with it, which is where I think companies like us come in. There's sort of a starter kit all the way up to proficiency within the enterprise, which is something that we're going to need to kind of get our chops up to speed on as well. But the thing that I've heard probably the most common is it's limitless in every way. What it's going to be able to do, what it'll be like in a year, in 5 years. And so, I don't really know how to put that into words to say that, well, here's 3-4 examples. I do want to riff off one thing that you said about the coal industry, though. So I read a lot of prospectus reports and investment prospectus. I read one about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, from a pretty decent sized hedge fund. And they were going all in on rubber manufacturers and tire companies, like tire distributors and wholesalers. Why, you ask? Because the self-driving truck, long haul truck, not just pickup truck, but that was really starting to make a splash. And so they're investing years and years ahead of it because trucks that don't have to take brakes are going to use more tires.
Makes sense.
Right. And I don't know how much exactly they win in. Maybe we'll cover that on a future episode or something like that. But I'd love to see now 5 or 6 years later, what's the payoff been like that? Or if they've seen anything just yet. And it might actually be cool if we're thinking about, maybe 6 months down the road or whatever, having somebody from that sort of investment field come in and say, hey, these are things that we're looking at as well. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it. It's like, how many people can I talk to about what they think is happening? What real examples do we have, with the stuff that you're working on, however exploratory it may be? And then, what do we do as a business to kind of like fit in? To some of that, leveraging all the things that we've done over the course of our careers. So it's exciting to say the least, So I think we're in for it. Whatever it is, we're in for it. It's going to be a wild ride. One
thing I'm excited about and relieved to see is that it's absolutely changing the software engineering industry, which is what we do. But it's not replacing the people that are in that industry in the way that I thought it would. There's a lot of talk, and Chris, you and I have talked about what does that mean for a junior engineer. But there's still a huge amount of ability to go deep into it at a technical level beyond what I would even be able to go into as a non-software engineer. Things like MCP servers and RAG database. Like there's a lot of ways that an engineer can geek out on it and learn. And one of the neat things I think is no one is too far ahead of the game. Even right now, if you're an engineer and you've been working on only COBOL for the last 20 years, you could dive in and learn some of these things and be one of the foremost experts in the world because it's only been around for 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I heard there was
enlighten me.
There's another podcast called what's it called? Latent Space, where they talk about really the deep aspects of LLM model development, all of the training aspects, evals, all the rest of this. And one of the people who was on there was from Anthropic, and he knew nothing about model interpretability, which is if I have a model and it has it's a neural network, so there's some layers of nodes. Some of those nodes get activated and some of them don't. What does that actually mean for the thinking, quote unquote, or the token generation of the model? And he's like, I knew nothing about this model interpretability field 6 months ago. I spent 6 months. I am now the person who is one of the people who's pushing the state of the art on what model interpretability means in the LLM space. So I think very much is the case that like if
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If, as is the case with some of the cutting edge things, you need to know some of the base. You need to understand how computation works. You need to understand some of the linear algebra and all the mathematics that are kind of behind it. But so there might be a little bit of knowing something, precursor knowledge.
Sure.
But the particular field is just kind of moving so quickly. And a lot of it is public or shared out by organizations that are kind of doing some of the research. And you can find a lot of things online through like Hugging Face or through some of the other like publishing places. You can find like preprints of the papers or whatnot and really just kind of catch up on what is happening if you're willing to invest the time.
Sure.
And I didn't mean to say that you could go from
Nothing
to
can't speak English to
right. But if you're already a software engineer,
Yeah.
but you've been maybe stale on some of your skills, or you've been on the same project for a really long time, or working at the same company for a really long time, there's an opportunity right now to refresh your skills in a way that I think is pretty unique.
Yeah.
And probably ongoing for a few years to come at least.
So do you think it's something we should cover then in a future episode? Like what's it going to do to the job market? Maybe our predictions, maybe not just our predictions, but maybe we gather a few folks.
I like the predictions thing. I like the idea of putting something stake in the ground and being
that.
like,
I love that.
you were wrong.
Yes.
You were right.
Yes. That's what this is all about.
And I think that's a great idea. I'd love to get on maybe even like a recruiter, a few people that are in that field that could see what express what they're seeing in the industry.
Yeah. A recruiter that maybe has been in a company for a while to say, we've seen these things, X, Y, and Z over the last several years, and the last 2 years we've started to see this, and it's fewer or more, or and then maybe some folks that are actually doing hiring, right?
Or I've maybe even I've got friends that are teaching at the university level in computer science, so they can probably see a lot of that stuff too.
That would be a good guest.
Yeah.
That would be a good guest.
I have a question for you. This is kind of going off topic a little bit.
I might have an answer for you.
I don't know that anything's off topic.
Okay, good.
It's just we're topicless.
Topicless.
Hey, there you go.
That would have been a good podcast name.
Topicless. I'm sure it's taken.
I don't know what
It'd
it would
probably
be
say-
about.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. So, coming from a database background,
Sure.
I tend to think in rows and columns. Can you explain for like a layman what is a neural network? Like I constantly hear that thrown around within
Neural network?
a neural network within AI, right? Like there's it's being used more, I think, because it's an AI thing now.
Yeah, I will do my best to make it accessible. A neural network is the classic example would be like a classification neural network for written digits. So if I have, for instance, a picture of, let's say I drew an 8 down on the piece of paper, I take and for each of the pixels, I separate out into like one big long array of all of the values of those pixels. I feed that, all of those elements into the first layer of a neural network and perform some computation, usually some form of linear algebra, matrix multiplication. And you do that multiple times through each of the layers until you end up with your end result. In this case, we're talking about a classification algorithm. So your end result is an array from 0 to 9. And each of the values represents a probability of the input being related to that one particular output. So it's a series of layers of matrix multiplications or other linear algebraic or otherwise calculations that occur that take it from one form to another form. And the theory is that inside of that network, there are, either more highly weighted values that are associated with some abstract idea that you may or may not be able to see directly. Sometimes you have nodes that represent like particular ideas. So you might have a node that represents like a straight line in a particular area, but a lot of the time you can't necessarily tell. Sometimes it's very hard to understand what each node is associated with. So,
but it's about relationships and how closely related pieces of data are to each other.
What your input, it's about drawing some kind of weighted relationships between different parts of your input and then resulting in some kind of output.
That was the easy explanation?
That was the easy explanation.
Wow. I
And
don't know
I
if I
think
want to
there's
stick
still
around for the
some-
hard one. Like, if I get the nerd version, then I don't know if I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Wow. Okay. Wow.
I was going to say one
Yeah.
thing, kind of talking back to the junior engineer / like things that people can learn. I think one of the aspects of leveraging AI tooling that we do now that it's kind of different, or it's the amount of people who are paying me specifically to write code is very small. They're paying me for other sorts of things, like writing code that doesn't have security vulnerabilities in it, writing code that is in alignment with what your business initiatives are, being able to like develop an understanding of what is there and teach it to other engineers. And those are some of the sorts of things that right now there isn't really a good set of tooling to kind of facilitate each of those things. And we have issues that have been arising where people have leveraged some of the AI tools and they introduce more bugs. They introduce more security vulnerabilities. And you got people who their entire job nowadays is to come up behind those people who, use their vibe coding tools and clean up the mess that they made.
With the broom and dustpan.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the key things about some of the junior engineer situation as well. Understanding the fundamentals allows you to be able to enact the real value that wouldn't be delivered if you just simply relied on kind of the LLM or AI generation or code generation tools.
That makes sense.
What else is on your mind?
I mean, I love that. That's an important one because that is the value of people that will remain, right? And skilled people and experience that will remain no matter how, I shouldn't say no matter how advanced AI gets, because maybe it can get to the point where it truly is replacing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
But
we have different problems at that point, I think.
Yeah, and I think we have years before that's the case, probably.
Yeah.
Although it seems like it's exponential. Each version is an exponential version of the last one.
I think it was for a little bit. I don't know if it's so much now. I think that there's some, depending on where you look, a lot of the evals, people are like, oh, okay. But also there's some problems with how the evals work. Trainings on the evals. We don't have to get into that.
Well, the good news, and also probably maybe the unknown news, is we don't know. But we're going to be here to call it out, document it, and process it live in this very room, in this very studio.
Yeah.
And a year from now, I'll look like an idiot saying the thing I just
That's
said.
right. That's the hope.
Exactly.
One of the industries I'm really excited about is gaming. Like, I can't wait to see what happens in the gaming industry. Like things like, for example, playing, pick your favorite first-person shooter. Everyone likes Grand Theft Auto.
Fortnite.
But Fortnite's real people playing against each other. Grand Theft Auto, you have a lot of NPCs.
Yeah.
What happens, which is probably already being created, where
what happens to the NPCs
are autonomous. They're not just the same thing, the same person bumping into the wall and saying the same one line over and over. But it has a lot more, realistic, immersive feel to it. I think it's going to be really cool what comes out of the video game industry.
So more variety in the NPCs. That they may be more. Some may be more aggressive. Others may be harder to hunt down.
In the NPCs, but maybe the environments too.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many places you could go with AI that would be pretty interesting to see, I think. And we're working with a gaming company now. No, it's not so much video games, but it's still in the game industry.
It's gamification, for manufacturing, but still, take what was happening on a shop floor of a company that makes kayaks or something like that, and what they're actually thinking about doing now, right? Using AI. I mean, it's changing everything.
It is. Yeah, even prototyping things.
Yeah,
I think prototyping is a huge one. Like the the capability of being able to rapidly come up with something and iterate on it and help to brainstorm. That's like a huge piece that. Having an assistant that can automatically generate these things for you without any regard to the security or things that really don't matter when we're doing the prototyping, it's a huge value add.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I said earlier, we get to see this all unfold in front of us. We'll bring it to our listeners and our audience once a month, starting now. Maybe every other week or once a week, or I don't know if this will be a daily thing, but we'll keep coming back if you keep coming back. We'll have a bunch of folks on over the next couple of months. Probably bring it home. Podcasts are always awkward to wrap up, but I think we've covered a lot today. And I guess maybe it's, as a send-off, my business partner Mike and founder of Sirrus 7, my other business partner Chris Nearman, one of our distinguished gentlemen.
I'm a distinguished gentleman.
You are. But one of our partners, extremely valuable partner. I'm Matt, as they say, the captain of the ship, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. It felt good. There was a few things, but it felt good to set this up for what we're going to do in the future. A lot of that's going to be, what do you think about? What do you think? And then, I asked it a different way, but I was almost like, do you believe that? Like, do you buy that? Does he buy that? Sort of thing. Those are great to riff on.
100%.
Especially since there is the are you a Chris or are you the Mike aspect to this.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm very excited about AI, and I
Yes.
think it's magic.
I was going to
and I
jump
think it's
in
going to go into science fiction.
when
and-
you said the thing about what's it called? All the different tech things, and I was like, yeah, I've always been very anti those things.